We'd like to thank the members of the press and the community for attending this event. We may correct some of the misstatements made, Mr. Norris. His editorial, Mr. Norris, refers to the secret source. The title of his article is called True Crime, The Real Trenton Statistics. He's suggesting that there exists some kind of an ongoing conspiracy among the command staff and within the Trenton Police Department to under-report crime in the city of Trenton in order to show our organization in a more positive light. Mr. Norris' assertion that a secret police source had to smuggle out several crime maps from the ComStat meeting to show a true compilation of crime in the city of Trenton could not be further from the truth. Crime maps are routinely exhibited to members of the public at community meetings and discussion between the public and police officials concerning crime events often occur. In addition, crime maps are posted in the roll call rooms throughout the various buildings of the Trenton Police Department. And the secret source could have just as easily taken those maps off the walls as opposed to having to smuggle them out of this. This is the ComStat room, by the way. This is the dungeon that we refer to. What I'm going to do is I'm going to ask Lieutenant David Maldonado to come forward. He can explain to you how he just recently utilized these maps at one of the CPAC meetings that he attended. Lieutenant Maldonado?
Hello. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Lieutenant David Maldonado. I'm the South District Commander. Excuse me. And I routinely use maps and statistics when I go to the CPAC meetings and some of the civic meetings which occur like at least once a month. Just recently on the 24th of October, we had a CPAC meeting in which I brought some statistics and I brought a map out, passed it out to the members of the organization, which indicate the crimes for the past month, from September 24th to October 24th. It has the icons here that distinguish any robberies that we may have had during that time, and the aggravated assaults, burglaries, thefts, and motor vehicle thefts. These were all Part 1 crimes I indicated to the group. Didn't include any of those quality of life issues, but it did have all the Part 1 crimes in it. And it's a map just indicating everything that happened in the South District. It also, well, one map shows all the crimes, and then the next map shows the efforts of the police officers as far as extra attention, business checks, walk and rides, and directed patrols that I've directed my officers to do. And of course, that just shows little spots here with the icons indicating where they took place. Another map that also indicates any of the officers' efforts in regards to narcotic arrests, any arrests, other arrests, VCO, which is violation of city ordinance arrests, FIRs, which is field inquiry reports, and motor vehicle summons issued. As far as the field inquiry reports, I explained to the group that a lot of times we'll stop individuals with reasonable suspicion or with probable cause to try to ascertain what they're doing in a particular area. If our investigation doesn't lead to an arrest or anything substantial in that manner, we document that stop still with information. And what we do is we try, if the person is willing, we take their names and their descriptions and the fact that they were in that particular area, and we complete this field inquiry report, which helps us to combat crime in the future. Perhaps we have a robbery in the area or something like that. We try to match up the descriptions of the suspects with information that we've gotten in those FIRs, and a lot of times it helps us identify some of the suspects in that area. So that's also part of this particular map here. Now, this map here also shows all the crimes that took place in the South District, and with an overlay of all the efforts of the police officers in my district. And as you can see, it overlaps the areas where we have a problem, where we've identified a problem down here in ComStat. We come down here and we try to identify where we're having problems in the South District. My aide, Sergeant Rivera and myself, we analyze the crime as we get it every week. And we try to identify any patterns that we may have in a particular area, and we will direct our officers into that area, and their enforcement is shown here on this map. the police efforts are taking place in their neighborhood. After the meeting, I collected them back, and I sent them back to everyone was free to see this, and there was no secret.
Thank you, Dave. The next part of the editorial referred to us as hunkering down. Mr. Narr's statements concerning the Trenton police commanders and supervisors hunkering down at weekly ComStat meetings is absolutely correct. We do meet every Thursday at 10 o'clock in the morning to discuss crime in order to solve past crimes, but equally important, to prevent additional crimes from occurring. These actions are part of the ComStat process, and they are the hallmarks of that process. That being the analysis of real-time crime information, the development of law enforcement strategies, the implementation of those strategies, the evaluation of the implemented strategies to see if they're working or if they're not working, and then the big thing is the constant recapitulation of instances that we talked about here to make sure that our objectives are being achieved. I'm sure that the citizens of the city who have either been victimized by crime or those who have not become a victim of crime as a result of the strategies that we develop here would be very happy that we're here every Thursday discussing these matters constantly, to know that their plight is being recognized by the Trenton Police Department. After the meat and potatoes of the article, the central matter of the editorial concerns Mr. Narr's assertion that the crimes maps appearing on pages 1 and 2 of the Trentonian reflect the crime events occurring during the time period of October 8th through the 14th in the Villa Park and the Chambersburg sections of the city. What I'm going to show you here is a map of the city of Trenton. What I'd like to have, could you put up here the crime for the time period of October 1st to the 8th, please? Okay, this is the first map that I believe that you have in your packet. What we did is we started seeing a pattern of criminal behavior in the South Trenton, Chambersburg, and Villa Park sections of the city. Can I please see the next map for October 8th to the 14th? Again, during this follow-up week, we saw this trend was continuing, and we had begun already to develop strategies to combat the problems that were happening. Now, can I please see the compilation of those 2 weeks, which would be the time period of October 1st to October 14th? This is the map that appeared in the Trentonian yesterday. Again, it's 2 weeks. We knew we had a problem here. We sat down. We talked about it. I actually stood right up here, and I drew a big circle around this problem. And the people in this room were challenged to see how we were going to combat this problem. So what we did is we developed strategies. And we utilized all different parts of this police department. Tech, detective, patrol, vice. And we started implementing strategies. Can I please see the next slide? What you're going to see now is you're going to see the activities that the Trenton Police Department took to combat these problems. What you're seeing here are motor vehicle violations. Now, each triangle doesn't necessarily represent a summons. It represents a person that was stopped, and there could have been one summons issued or several. Next one. Okay. What you're seeing here now are field interview reports. As Lieutenant Maldonado explained to you. Field interview report. Officers make observations. They establish either reasonable suspicion or probable cause to believe that that person may be involved in some type of illegal activity. They engage that person. Throughout the course of their investigation, if they do not develop the probable cause to make an arrest, they will still document the engagement with that individual. And that's done on a field interview report. And again, it does not necessarily mean one person. It could be as many as 4 or 5 people stopped. Next, please. And summonses. VCOs, drinking in public, urinating in public, gambling in public. Again, this is a strategy. Kind of going with the broken windows effect. This is a small crime. Maybe we can stop something else from happening. Next. Arrests. These are arrests that occurred in the subject area as well as other parts of the city. Because this was not the only part of the city that was having problems. There were other parts of the city that were having problems. This became our focus because of the sheer volume of the crime. Next, please. These are narcotics arrests. So you can add them to the other lists. And can I please see the final one? Towed vehicles. All right, yeah, you can put it through. Again, towed vehicles. We will have a lot of stolen car issues in this area. We're recovering a lot of stolen cars in this area. So we're utilizing the technology we have, InfoCop, to run a series of vehicles all at one time to determine if they were stolen. To run motor vehicle cop checks on cars that were maybe driving in a suspicious manner to determine if we had probable cause or reasonable suspicion to stop that car, maybe do a summons. All right, the final thing, please. What we try to do here in Comstat is a simple concept. We have a lot of bells and whistles. But what we're trying to do is look at the bad dots. That's the crime. And then, if you can do it, thank you. The good dots. Cover them with the good dots. And by good dots, we mean documented police actions. Because we have proven that there is a very strong correlation between increased police activity in a particular area and the lowering of crime. Doesn't always happen. Sometimes we got to go to plan B, C, and D. However, generally, when you have increased police presence, when you have increased police activity occurring in an area, it does lower the crime. All right, reclassification. Mr. Nar's editorial relates to downgrading or offenses that occurred during Comstat. Police reports are not downgraded at Comstat. The evaluation for all Trenton police reports, the process begins with field supervisor. Further review and investigation for the purposes of both quality control and further investigation are conducted by district commanders, detective personnel, or personnel assigned to the Comstat. These reports are reviewed. Follow-up investigation is conducted to ensure that elements of the crime do exist or determine if the statement of facts by the victim or witness have changed. If through this quality control mechanism or the follow-up investigation, it is determined that the elements of the crime are not met, the case is reclassified. This reclassification occurs as facts of the case develop and occur in this agency as well as agencies throughout the state. The fact that Mr. Nar's secret source may not realize that reclassification goes both ways. In the city of Trenton and in the state of New Jersey, simple assault is judged by the criminal code in the state of New Jersey. Someone is punched. They receive a laceration. That is not an aggravated assault when you consider criminal code in the state of New Jersey. That person seeks any kind of medical assistance, goes to a hospital, gets a suture. The uniform reporting requirements require us to elevate that crime from simple assault to an aggravated assault. And this happens anywhere between 10 and 20 times a month. And I would assume that maybe Mr. Nar's source was unaware of that. Sexual assaults. Mr. Nar's editorial makes a very bold allegation of criminal conduct when he cites a secret source of saying, rape. We write up a rape as a sexual assault. The Detective Bureau classifies it the way they want. In order to respond to this, I thought maybe you should probably hear from the supervisor in our special victims unit, who can explain to you the methods which they utilize to investigate sexual assaults. This is Sergeant Richard Fink. Sergeant?
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Richard Fink. I'm the supervisor in charge of the special victims unit. I'm just going to give you like a brief rundown of how it's actually a sexual assault investigation. Generally speaking, patrol officers will be detailed to an assignment alleging a sexual offense. They'll arrive on scene and do a cursory interview with the victim. I say cursory because we have an order out actually that instructs officers to, as soon as a disclosure is made or information is received regarding sexual assault, they're to cease the interview. This is done for two reasons. First is to limit the traumatization of the victim any further. It's already an emotional situation most of the time for the victims, and we'd like to limit that as much as possible. And secondly, the heads in my unit are specially trained and they have experience in this area and are adept at interviewing victims, be they children or adults. And for that reason, that's why we have to call officers, limit their contact with them to make sure we don't have any problems in that regard. So as a result, oftentimes information is received or written up as a sexual assault, and then after further interview by our detectives, the facts and circumstances might indicate that the offense may not actually be a sexual assault or be a different offense. That's how that occurs. At that point, if a sexual offense is actually determined to be taking place, then we'll contact the Mercer County Prosecutor's Office. The Prosecutor's Office suggests that for any first and second degree offenses, they be contacted. In the Trenton Police Department, we take it upon ourselves to contact the Prosecutor's Office for any and all sexual offenses and child abuse and neglect incidents. We'll interview the victims, all victims and witnesses involved in the case, and make a determination of whether probable cause exists to proceed with criminal charges or not. On occasion, we'll go through our full investigation, interview all parties involved, and we're unable to determine if probable cause exists or not. At that point, assignments or investigations will be forwarded to the Mercer County Prosecutor's Office for their final determination. The investigations involved in the special victims unit are, by nature, emotional and difficult to undertake. And as a result, we try to, do as much as possible to limit the exposure to police for our victims. And that's why oftentimes information received initially, the patrol officer's initial report will be vague and non-specific. And that's why we investigate them further to determine what actually took place.
Okay, thanks. Just maybe if I can give you a few examples of reclassification. When we're going through that quality control process, one of the things that happens quite often, somebody can't find their keys, their wallet. They'll call the Trenton Police Department and they'll report it as being stolen. They go by and find the keys. Well, as a result of follow-up investigation conducted by our detectives, we find this out, and we are able to reclassify it. Now, had that follow-up investigation not occurred, that set of keys would have been a theft today, and 10 years from now. When you looked at the UCR reports for 2007, it would still be a theft of a set of keys. Another example is civil matters. People call up the police quite often because they engage in some kind of a civil relationship with someone. Someone offers to do some work for them. They give them a $1,000 down payment. The person will come and do a little bit of the work. Then they never show up again. People call us because they're used to the police department coming to help them. Investigation of that matter determines that that's a civil matter. It's not a theft. There's people entered into a contractual agreement with one another. One side decided not to uphold the side of their contract. So it's a matter that has to be adjudicated in civil court. Another instance is the report of stolen cars. Someone comes home, their car's not there. They call us, the report is stolen. A lot of times, our follow-up investigations will say that the car was towed by the Trenton Police Department because maybe it was illegally parked. Or it was repossessed because the owner didn't make payments. Or a family member, without telling their father that they were taking the car, took the car. And then we find out the next day, as a result of follow-up investigation, what really happened. And in those cases, And just to let you know that, you know, the thing with counting of numbers in the Trenton Police Department, it's been going on for a few years. And I don't know if the general belief is that, well, they can do anything because it's the police department. Who's going to come in and push their way through and say, I want to look at the numbers? Well, that's dumb. The Uniform Crime Reporting System exists throughout the entire United States. The New Jersey State Police, acting as an agent of the FBI, routinely performs audits of what's considered the urban 15 cities in the state of New Jersey, at least once a year. Once every 3 years, the Federal Bureau of Investigation comes in, and they do an audit. What I'm going to do is I'm going to let you hear from Lieutenant Michael Flaherty from our ComStat unit. He works with the auditors. He's the individual, and the people in his unit are the one that collect all this information for submission. Huh?
Yeah, my name is Lieutenant Flaherty. I'm in charge of the ComStat unit. It's under my supervision. It's a use audit, so it's submitted every month. Just to give you a little history, we've undergone an audit by the state police every year that I'm aware of. I was in the use audit unit in 203 and 204, and I was recently reassigned there in 207. State police has come in every year. They've found no discrepancies with any of our work. This year, the FBI came in on September 12th. Marilyn Moore and Sandra Phillips were here for about 8 hours on that day. They reviewed over 200 police reports. We were given our score by them. We scored a 10. Now, the FBI scores it from 22 to 8, 8 being the best you can possibly get. We scored a 10 out of the score. It's one of the lowest scores you get. We took a penalty point because we didn't have a written policy and procedure for reviewing how the UCR was reviewed. But they found absolutely no discrepancies in our work. You can see the open requests all the time from different agencies requesting our crime stats, and they're out there for anybody to look at. And I don't know how much more I can say, but we've undergone two federal, not only for the state, the FBI, September 12th, but the state was here too, and the state found no discrepancies in any of our crime numbers.
Thank you. While I must commend Mr. Nark for his accolades that he bestowed upon members of our Criminal Investigation Bureau and detectives from outside agencies, I wish that he had also acknowledged the officers throughout the Trenton Police Department. Even though the police director and the command staff of this agency set policy and make command decisions, it is the dedicated men and women of this department that professionally and successfully execute these plans, and they should be afforded the lion's share of the praise for lowering the crime rate in this city 45% between the years 2004 and 2006. Whether it's a tactical anti-crime unit effecting a firearms arrest, or a crime suppression unit engaging a suspicious person in one of their crime grids, or an officer manning their post that deters someone from committing a criminal act, it is the collective effort of these individuals that must also be recognized. These officers on a 24-hour basis deal with the major crimes and the little crimes, the little people that most Trentonians remember most. And they should take pride in the job well done. The little crimes referred to by Mr. Narr are the subject of relentless follow-up investigation. So the little crimes, as well as the big crimes, receive just attention. In conclusion, the editorial on the November 6th issue of the Trentonian suggests that the Trenton Police Department command staff paints a stunning picture of the bloody city. The city of Trenton does have its crime issues. The advent of street gang over the last 5 years has been a challenge for our organization, yet I think we have made tremendous inroads. Property crime affects the largest amount of citizens in our city, and despite moderate increases in those property crimes this year, we are still working to prevent a person from walking out of their home in the morning and finding his car stolen, or returning home from work at night and finding his home has been burglarized. As of September 30th, 2007, 2,827 Part 1 index crimes have been investigated by the Trenton Police Department, but that is 2,827 crimes per month. That figure reflects an overall increase of 1% from the same time period last year. If Mr. Narr suggests that we are painting a sunny picture, or are we not indicating a decrease in crime in the current year? We know we have problems here. We've had 22 murders. We've had 500 robberies. That's not a sunny picture. But the men and women of this organization are dedicated to combating these crime issues. Is it going to be a battle that's won overnight? No. We've been doing it under the present regime for 4 or 5 years. We still have problems. And you know what? We're going to continue to control these problems. Just one thing about the concept process. I'm an advocate of it. And I'm sure you may have heard some nightmares about it. However, the whole idea of COMSTAT is data-driven police strategy development. A couple weeks ago, the governor, the attorney general, announced a plan for law enforcement strategies for safe streets and neighborhoods in the state of New Jersey. One of the cornerstones of this whole process is intelligence and data-driven strategic development. The Trenton Police Department has been doing that for the last 4 years. I talked with representatives from the Division of Criminal Justice and other police departments, and the things that we do here are right on par with what they want to do, and we've been doing. USTAT, which is an outgrowth of COMSTAT, is a preventative measure dealing with youth in this city. So we are trying to do things. And does everything always work? Is it a magic bullet every time? No. But we keep trying. I want to thank you. If anybody has any questions. Yes, sir, Mr. Michael.
Does this mean that every Thursday you're going to let us have those CrimeStat maps? Because that would help us tell people in your neighborhood, watch out for this and that and everything.
Well, what's happening?
And why don't you actually, it might be a good idea actually, to have the reporters sit in on, have the beat reporters sit in on these CrimeStat meetings. There may be some things you got to kick your guys out for, but for the most part, they can probably listen to this stuff and get something out of it.
Oh, yeah, that's something.
And get something out of it for the public is the point. So let them know, wow, you know, look at that. I mean, that first map that you put up there for us, Jim, boy, that's very telling. What does that Villa Park and Chambersburg crime things that you put up there, how does that compare to maybe 5 years ago? And it's, I tell you what, it's not good. And, you know, I just wonder if having the reporters in on it with you, at least part of this stuff, might not be a bad idea. Every Thursday, have them sit in here with you, especially the beat reporter, the guy who's doing it every week.
Well, again, the police director would have to make a decision on that, but in
Okay,
regards
but
to
it's a thought, you know, you might want to think about. Now, let me ask you something
Well,
else.
you're not
if I
letting me
might.
answer your questions.
Okay.
You
Oh,
had
fine,
one
okay.
question at me, and you didn't give me a chance to respond.
Okay, fine, very good.
All right. What was your first question? I forget.
See, might not be a bad idea to let us have the map. You know, the public, they're hanging up in the station and all, you know, so fun.
Every week on the City of Trenton's website, there's a compilation of crimes that occurred in the city. We are going to include the maps in that, but the written information regarding the crime is there for anybody that wants to look at it, including us. Now, what was your second one?
Okay, we'll check that. And then I was just wondering if it might not be a bad idea to have the reporters sit in.
Okay, that's not a
See
decision
what
that
Joe
I can
says
make.
about that.
That'll have to be.
Now-
But I just want to bring out something to the press on this. As part of the COMSTAT process, in dealing with the crime issues, one of the things that we try to do is educate the public. Because we see patterns of crime. That it's just people not using good judgment. Leaving laptops and computers in the backseat of their car. Leaving their windows down and their cars unlocked. A couple weeks ago, we had about 3 investigations in the span of about 2 weeks, where we had these meter reader impersonators. And what we try to do is, Pedro Medina sits down here, And I know that that was one of the things that Mr. Bernard thinks, that he can't reach Sergeant Medina because he's down there in Comstock. But he's down here for a reason. And that reason is, can we utilize the press to educate the public, again, to bring crime down? And in those two instances, we actually gave information to the press so that our elderly victims would know not to let people in the house identifying themselves as meter readers unless they had some kind of ID or they called the water department to verify. We also put some tips in for people to avoid having their cars broken into. You took the story, you didn't take the tips, because they didn't appear in the newspaper next day.
Hey, Paul, let me...
Yeah, sure.
Am I correct, Sergeant Medina? Hey, Jimmy?
Yes.
Mr. Michael asked about how it looked 5 years ago. It'd be interesting to see how it compared.
What do you
Nobody
think?
was looking 5 years ago, Paul.
I see, okay, all right. So,
And that's another thing, too. These meetings here, every Thursday, we don't do them because we don't have anything better to do.
I understand. Nobody's got any knock on Comstock anyway. Look, you talked about, I'm constantly talking about curbside downgrading. Listen, Jack did a great story the other week about the gas station guy who's a thinks he might want to move out. It's terrible. The guy had one of his attendants shot in the neck. The man's paralyzed for life. Every Thursday he's going up, or every Sunday he's going up to visit this guy. It's down on Landwick Street. You saw the story. Very telling incident in there, okay? This guy, later on, just thinking about getting out of town, and the community saying, please stay in here, and he tells Jack, look, we had a guy come down here, he pushes the attendant away, takes off with $40 worth of gas. Okay, the officer comes down, listen, I worked 16 years at night over here, up until 10 years ago, listening to the Trenton police on the radio. That's a strong-arm robbery. And that case should be handled as a strong-arm robbery. And the license number and the description of the vehicle goes out on the radio, and the officers out there see it. No, this address comes back to Bordentown. We've called the officers in Bordentown to go and look for that guy. How was that case handled that this man was pushed away and $40 worth of gas taken from him? Oh, that's a civil complaint, sir. You go down, here's the number at City Hall, or here's the number at the court. You go down tomorrow and sign a complaint against this guy. You got his license tag. You can find out who he is. That is not a civil case. That's a strong-arm robbery, and in my day, covering the cops, that would be handled as a strong-arm robbery. You know what? They would catch the guy, too. And what is the prospect for that case something being done about that case? Had to go through the civil court and everything. Now, I got another case for you. Why in the name of God, at 9:30 at night at Broad Market across the street from the Mercer County Courthouse, a guy going to the ATM machine gets attacked and shot 5 times. 5 times. The next day, we got released from the police the next day. About this much, about 2 paragraphs, and it spoke of the guy having a non-life-threatening wound. W-O-U-N-D, singular, wound. That is a curbside downgrading. That is not the way that case was supposed to be handled. And then, we're getting in trouble for pointing out, and community groups getting upset with us for pointing out that somebody got shot 5 times at Broad Market at 9:30, and everybody from the Mill Hill spilling out to take a look at it.
And there was much more to that investigation.
Well, there was much more to it. In fact, the guy's reputation then the reputation of the guy was questioned. Oh, look, he was just some gang guy anyway, who went up there and got shot. You see what I mean? And so we're supposed to say, well, he's a gang guy, you can shoot all, So what?
Let me step in. I have a question about that whole thing about there was more to that investigation. My question is there a policy with the Trenton Police that you release crimes as they are reported to you, or do you wait and look at them yourself first before you decide whether or not you're going to put that out to the public? Because it sounds to me like if it doesn't seem right, or if there's more to it, that you're sitting on it or waiting on it and before you release it. Perfect example was a Friday night. There was somebody, a kid that was abducted, or an attempted abduction, outside of church in West Trenton. We did not get any kind of press release on that until Monday morning. Now you're telling me you got somebody out there who's trying to grab a kid and throw him in the car, and the public's not going to know about it till Monday? What was that about?
That was an oversight on my part. But to answer your original question, no, generally, press releases are given out regarding the facts concerning a crime. However, we're not going to give you follow-ups as to what our investigation is finding out until the investigation is complete. Again, because we have certain confidentiality issues that we have to maintain. And we realize our responsibility to the press and to the public.
But just so we're on the same page, and I don't know the exact instance that he's talking about, but would you say that somebody being shot, I mean, if this is a trust call, he says that this is shot 5 times, do you think a press release saying that he received a non-life-threatening wound accurately describes somebody who was shot 5 times? Because maybe we're just not on the same page as to what a description is, what an accurate description is.
And that is the formula for burying and not shedding enough light on a shooting that occurred at Broadway Market in Mill Hill at the ATM machine. By putting out this, it's not that big a deal. You see what I mean? And so, the only reason the story really came out was I was kind of struck by the thing, and I thought, man, Broadway Market guy, the guy's drunk like this, and I started looking up, and then I found the guy, and he starts telling me, what do you mean? I got shot 5 times, I'm like, holy smoke.
But I assume that because you ever speak to him, that it was a non-life-threatening wound.
It was, apparently it was, yeah, it was, but I mean, nonetheless, the guy got hit 5 times, and I mean, it was certainly more than...
Paul, it's actually a bad example to use that case.
Yeah,
The paper
right,
sold
because
that
he's
case
just
off
some
as a
gang
working
guy
man with
who
an
cares
ATM
about
card.
it.
It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter, I'll tell you
It's
why.
not if he's working or he's not working. Somebody who's shot 5 times is shot 5 times. That's not your call to make.
Can I get a question here?
In fact, if the guy was drunk, I don't ask him for that reason. It's not even a possession of an
Working
ATM
man
card.
is the only man who matters.
People don't really care about them. Let's be honest. I mean, we're going to sit here and say that we care about gang members getting killed. We're lying to ourselves. We can stop that.
First of all, I'd like to address that.
I'm talking about reporters. I'm talking about reporters and newspapers. Can I ask my question? Can I ask my question?
Mr. Barker, let me just answer that, okay? Because I take strong
I said news reporters, not you, reporters.
Not me.
Reporters and newspapers. And since everybody is here to get what they want as far as newspaper reporters, does the Trenton Police Department believe that they come under more scrutiny than the suburban newspapers who are never asked about these issues or never asked to report their criminal stats? I've never seen them, seen them asked for. Does the Trenton Police Department believe that you come under more scrutiny?
Yes.
Absolutely. Because you know what? You know how many calls I get about incidents that occurred in Hamilton, Ewing, Lawrence? Right away they say, they call Trenton. Call Ewing, call Lawrence. And then, next day, I don't hear anything about that shooting or maybe that stabbing that occurred in Hamilton or Ewing Township. And I'm going to say one thing. There's certain information, specific information in cases, shootings, aggravated assaults, that we do not release because we could hinder our investigation. Maybe the times when someone was shot 5 times. We hold that information at times, so when we get the suspect, we can use that against the suspect during interrogation. Now, you know what? Fear, the perception of fear that the paper is trying to portray about the city is very dangerous. You have a business here in this city. So do you want everyone not to come to Trenton to buy the newspaper? Obviously, that's what you want. And
We just want to report what happened. Unlike
Don't leave now. Don't leave now. You started it. Don't leave now.
Well, look, Pedro makes an interesting point. I mean, is that something you should put out, maybe a story like the city says that suburban cops routinely cut out crime and everything?
Now, I'll tell you what, we're going to switch that question on you. Members of the press, do you make more inquiries about what happens in Trenton?
No, I can tell you that absolutely not. You can call on Hamilton, and you can call the Hamilton cops.
Listen.
You don't.
I'm not answering for you. Go ahead.
All I'm saying is, no, we ask the same questions of Hamilton, of Ewing, of Lawrence, that we ask of you guys. Absolutely.
And I think it's true. It's a true answer about more scrutiny for the city. Here's what the real answer is. We are swept along, the reporters and their job are swept along more by things that happen in the city. Is really what happens. By the time we, cover what's going on in the city. We're lucky, we had because more things happen in the city, and more news things happen.
We had a report.
What is newsworthy to the newspaper? Bad news, right? When you make a request of myself, I'll make sure, based on Executive Order 69, that I answer your request.
Good news, bad news, I don't know what...
Obviously, Trenton Police
good,
is a
bad
very
news.
efficient and effective police department where we share our intelligence with Hamilton, with Ewing. We have a regional task force that we're working together. We're not hiding anything. But see, obviously, what's newsworthy to the Trentonian is bad news.
Well, yeah, sure, that's exactly right. News is news. Bad, good,
Yeah.
news is news.
My question is, this obviously attacks the very integrity of this department. If someone attacks the integrity of my home, my family, my job, I send my best out to defend it. The mayor didn't appoint anyone in this room aside from these civilian people here. He appointed Joseph Santiago. So my question is, as the head of this department, why is he not here defending the integrity of this department? This goes to the core of many, many issues. And this article, no matter how many press conferences you have, the damage is done.
Because the
damage
command
is
staff of the Trenton Police Department felt so strongly about this that we came to the director and asked him. That's why. And this organization, you have virtually 100 years of experience here. There's been times when the director's been gone, and I know when somebody's been pressed asking me. You feel you can't do it because the director's not here, and I asked him.
But it begins and ends with him. He should be here, should he not?
Your editor goes away, does your reports get in the newspaper any less efficiently? And he said no. And I said, well, that's the answer to the question. Yes.
I have a comment I'd like to make to the press, and I've made these comments before, and nobody's taken me up on it yet. My name is Deborah Foka. I'm president of the Chambersburg Civic Association, and the last time that the Trentonian accused the Trenton Police Department of covering up or crime in the area, I asked the reporters to come to our meetings, and I think you can not only come to my meetings, but many of our community leaders are here. There's a meeting going on just about every week. The Trenton Police Department works very closely with the community associations in the city. And every single month, every meeting, we have 2 or 3 Trenton Police at our meetings with all of the math, all of the statistics. If you think, you should be able to go to the ComStat meeting, well, come to my meeting, all right? Because you're going to get the opportunity to ask every detail about a crime. You're going to hear crimes maybe that weren't reported. So if you think something's being covered up, come out and find out.
That's a pretty good idea. I do like that. You're right. And so we can pick up some intelligence going to some of these
Yes,
exactly right. And my meeting is the 3rd Wednesday of every month at 7 o'clock in Columbus Park in Chambersburg, except for this month because of Thanksgiving. It's November 28th. Come out, and if you want to know what's going on in the city, go out and see.
She mentioned Chambersburg. What makes Trenton very unique is the different ethnic groups that we have in Trenton. It's great about Trenton. But let me say this. Chambersburg, I grew up in Hudson Street. I love Chambersburg. I just spend a lot of time in Chambersburg. But Chambersburg is going through a cultural change. Let's face it, it's reality. Now, when I hear, and I read in the paper, that there's only 2 or 3 restaurants left in Chambersburg, or maybe 2 or 3 Italian restaurants, but you have a lot of... Not only is supporting the Italian restaurants that we have left, they're also supporting the Spanish restaurant that we have in Chambersburg. So, let's talk about the positive things. Restaurant Chambersburg, a lot of them are open. Don't eat some of my rice and beans, you know what I mean?
I'd like to say something. Excuse me, I'd like to say something. My name is Roberto Organis. I'm from Central Catholic Charities. Okay? We have our office next to Sacred
our campus on South Boston. And let me tell you something. We can trash, we can do whatever we want. I want to work together with everybody here because this is not about the police department, this is not about the press, this is about our community, okay? And if we're not willing to work together, we just all should leave at this particular point. But every second, every second Thursday of the month,
Let him talk, Mr. Mitchell.
every second Thursday of the month, we have the community out there. We have Lieutenant Maldonado. We have Medina. We have Mr. Carter. We know everybody on a personal basis. You know why that's important? Because people don't feel anymore that they can depend on the police. But when you build those personal relationships, because that's what it comes down to, okay? When the police come by and they say, hi, how you doing? And Jose, even though he may not be documented, feels safe with that officer, okay? And it's not about being white or black or African American. It's nothing about that. It's about what do we have in common? What do we have in common? We share this city. This is our city. This is our city. And if we don't start looking at the things we have in common, man, we are in trouble. Okay? So I say to you, sir, and I say to everybody here, I challenge you like I challenge myself, and I challenge my 3 sons every day. Make a difference today, because you may not be here tomorrow. Okay? Let's go and let's stop speculating with everybody, and let's start looking at what we can do together. On every second Thursday of the month, everyone here was welcome to there. And you know what? We'll have a good time. Thank you.
Very good statement. Very good statement.
Okay, I have Gloria.
All right.
Thank you. Welch Chester, and I am the president of the Trenton Council of Civic Associations. For those of you that don't know, it's the umbrella organization for all of the different civic and community groups here in the city of Trenton. And I know we don't live in a perfect city, and I don't have any glasses of any color on that I'm looking through. But to reiterate what Ms. Soka said, we need to focus on what is happening. One thing we need to focus on. I go to a lot, being the president of this organization. I go to a number of civic and community groups in a month. And if someone requests police presence there, even those that we don't request, they're on our email list, they show up. They answer questions. If we have an issue, they help us with it. They inform us. And these are things that we need to focus on. This past Friday, we had a great event honoring a number of wonderful people and businesses here in the city of Trenton, including the detectives of the Community Affairs Department. It didn't get any press coverage. I wonder why. Would have been nice.
You probably got swept along by breaking news, maybe some crime, you know, that's really...
Okay. All right. I appreciate you. You had plenty of time to speak.
Thank you.
And I'm not taking sides because I think most of you know that when I see something that is not going quite right in the city of Trenton, I show up at meetings, at city council meetings, and question authority because some people don't have the ability to do. So I will do that. But I'm sick and tired of seeing these sensational headlines and stories about the city that I chose to live in. And I appreciate. How can I finish? I'm sorry. Can I finish? Okay. I'm sick and tired of seeing that, and I understand that we have our challenges. But it'd be nice to have something positive and exciting sports across the country. But I mean, they don't sell. But for those of us that choose to live and pay taxes in the city, or work and have businesses in the city, and are invested in the city, other than trying to sell a few leaders, I think that we need to take that into account too. And I appreciate all of my friends in blue. I appreciate it. And if I see something wrong, I'm going to tell you about that too. But today's my day to say thank you. And I live here, and I want to help out. I want to work with you, sir, to exchange information and the tools, and then help my other community friends here that show up. They're not unfamiliar faces to me here, and we can do something here. So, we may have to deal with the folks in the media. That's fine. They have a job to do, but so do we.
Well, I want to thank you. First of all, I want to thank the members of the media for taking the time to come to this press conference. Also, members of the public, organizations. What happened here is positive. I believe it's very positive. This is what we need. And hopefully, from now on, we might be able to understand each other in a better way, in a more positive way. Again, thank you, and we almost going to get some.
Okay, I'll make this quick. My name is Patricia Stewart, and I'm president of the South Trenton Area Residents Society. I do have issues with the Trenton Police, but that's another story. What does disturb me, though, is the police department is a paramilitary organization, whether we want to admit it or not. Somebody in your department is deliberately undercutting you, and that bothers me that I'd like to know, and I'm a great believer in freedom of the press, freedom of speech, whatever. But this is a paramilitary organization, and you've got a good columnist, and I'm using that in a political sense. Are you doing anything about that?
Man, it really bothers us a whole lot. And not because we're trying to hide the problems, but only because we're not showing pride for what's being done here at the police department, also throughout the city of Trenton. And if you live here, you work here, let's work together, as my friend said, to make it more positive, so we can understand each other better. Bickering and fighting is not going to get us anywhere. Anyway, thank you. Have a great day.